50,000 years ago, if you had walked across what is now southern Europe, you would not have been alone. Something else was there. Something that looked almost like you, moved almost like you, made fire almost like you. But wasn't you? They had been there for 200,000 years before your ancestors arrived, and when your ancestors showed up, within a geological blink of an eye, they were gone. This is not a story about survival of the fittest. That answer is too easy, and it's probably wrong. Look at your hand right now. The proportions, the length of the fingers relative to the palm, the way the thumb sits. That specific geometry is shared by every human being alive on this planet, all 8 billion of us. One hand shape, one species, one survivor. At various points in the last 2 million years, there were at least 8 other human species walking this earth at the same time. Homo neanderthalensis, Homo erectus, Homo heidelbergensis. The Denisovans, a species we only discovered because of a single finger bone. A child's finger bone. Found in a cave in Siberia in 2008, one fragment. And from that fragment, an entire species we had never known existed. Homo floresiensis, 3 feet tall, living on an island in Indonesia, hunting pygmy elephants with stone tools. Homo naledi, burying their dead in a cave system so narrow that the modern researchers who found them had to exhale completely just to squeeze through. Breathe out. Flatten yourself against the rock. Pull through. They are all gone. You are still here. And the question of why is one of the most unsettling in all of science. Here's what we know for certain. We don't fully understand it. The honest answer, the one that serious researchers give when the cameras aren't rolling, is that we have pieces, not a picture. We have dates that don't line up, DNA that tells one story and fossils that tell another. We have sites where Neanderthal tools and Homo sapiens tools appear in the same archaeological layer, so close together that separating them is nearly impossible. Same soil, same moment in time. We know contact happened. We know interbreeding happened. You carry the proof of that in your genome right now. But we don't know exactly what ended them. Don't let anyone tell you they do. Here is what the evidence suggests, without pretending it's complete. The Neanderthals were not primitive. That image, the sloped forehead, the dragging knuckles, the grunting brute, was invented by a single badly reconstructed skeleton in 1908. One skeleton, Misread, and it took decades to correct. The real Neanderthal had a brain as large as yours, larger in some cases. They controlled fire reliably for at least 400,000 years. They made pigments and used them to decorate their bodies. They created jewelry from eagle talons, actual jewelry, perforated, worn, chosen for how it looked. At a site in Spain called Cueva de los Aviones, archaeologists found shell ornaments painted with pigment. Carefully made, deliberately beautiful. Those ornaments predate the arrival of Homo sapiens in Europe by 20,000 years. Neanderthals made them, alone, without us, without anyone to teach them that beauty mattered. They were not waiting for someone smarter to arrive and replace them. They had already been solving the same problem we faced, survival, for far longer than we had. And yet, something changed when we showed up. The theories are not simple, and the honest answer is probably that all of them are partially true. Here is what the latest science says, and this part is new. The Neanderthal populations were already fragile before we arrived. Genomic analysis reveals a pattern of inbreeding across generations, communities so small and so isolated that they were running out of genetic diversity. Some researchers estimate that by the time Homo sapiens reached Europe, the total Neanderthal population may have been as low as 70,000 individuals. 70,000 people, across an entire continent. That's not an army. That's a city the size of a small town, scattered across millions of square miles. with no reliable way to reach each other. And that isolation, that's the part that a study published just this year identified as the missing piece. Homo sapiens didn't just have more people. They had better networks, more connected habitats, groups that could reach allied communities when crisis hit, share information about animal migrations, trade resources, find partners, move to safer ground. A safety net woven across a continent. Neanderthals had connections too, but theirs were more fragile, more regional. When a climate shock hit, and the climate was swinging violently during this period, colder and warmer and colder again faster than anything they had survived before, Neanderthal communities couldn't absorb it. The network broke, one community at a time. Add disease. A population that had spent thousands of years in Africa and the Middle East carries immunities that isolated communities in Northern Europe simply wouldn't have. You don't need violence to erase 70,000 fragmented people. You just need a pathogen they've never met. Maybe that was enough. Maybe competition for the same prey at the same moment in a cooling climate was enough. Maybe the slow arithmetic of birth rates and survival margins did the rest. What the fossils will not give us is a clean villain and a clean victim. The story resists that. There is a detail that stops most people when they hear it. You are not pure Homo sapiens, and this goes deeper than one encounter. Genetic research now shows that Homo sapiens and Neanderthals didn't meet once. They met across 3 separate waves spanning 200,000 years. The first contact around 200,000 years ago, another around 120,000 years ago, and the largest wave around 50,000 years ago. For 200,000 years, these 2 branches of the human tree kept finding each other, kept having children together, kept weaving their DNA into the same strand. If your ancestry traces through Europe or Asia, between 1 and 2% of your DNA is Neanderthal. Read that again. It doesn't sound like much until you realize what it means, that somewhere down a line stretching 50,000 years, you exist because those children survived. And here's what's stranger still. Some of that DNA is working right now, inside you, today. Specific Neanderthal variants are tied to how your immune system responds to certain pathogens. Specific Denisovan variants appear in Tibetan populations and change how their bodies process oxygen at high altitude. An adaptation that lets them live in environments that would kill most humans within days. Scientists even found regions of modern human DNA that contain 0 Neanderthal sequences. None. They call them Neanderthal deserts. The leading theory is that those particular Neanderthal gene variants were lethal when mixed with ours. They were filtered out, generation by generation, until they disappeared. We kept what helped us. We rejected what didn't, without ever knowing we were doing it. The species we replaced did not disappear. They became part of us. They are still here, inside you. So here's the uncomfortable version of this story. There was no single moment when humans won. No war of the species, no morning when Homo sapiens woke up as the last one standing. What actually happened was slower, stranger, harder to look at directly. A centuries-long overlap during which the boundaries between species were more porous than we want to admit. Populations mixing, fragmenting, disappearing, not in battles, but in the quiet arithmetic of birth rates and survival margins, and diseases moving through communities too small to absorb them. We did not defeat the other humans. We outlasted them. By a margin, we still don't fully understand. In circumstances that were not entirely in our control, through processes that left their mark permanently in our bodies. You are not the winner of a competition. You are the last branch of a tree that had many branches. And the reason those other branches broke is still, in part, a question that science has not fully answered. That figure in southern Europe, 50,000 years ago, the one who looked almost like you but wasn't, he did not know he was living at the end of something. He knew the same stars, you know. He grieved. We have the evidence for that. He made things he thought were beautiful. We have the evidence for that too. He sat beside a fire in the dark and felt something. We don't have a word for what he felt, but we have the fire. What he did not know was that somewhere to the east, a population was moving that would outlast his, not because they were more deserving, not because the universe decided they mattered more, but because of networks and numbers and biology and luck, and a combination of factors we are still trying to name. You are here because of a margin, a narrow, contingent, still partially unexplained margin. The next time you look at your hand, that's worth thinking about. In the comments of our last video, many of you asked about the DNA you carry from species that no longer exist, which mutations they left behind, and what they're doing in your body right now. That's exactly where we're going next.